Okay everyone, welcome back to another video on the channel. Today we're back on GT Sport and we're back with the FIA Manufacturers race at Fuji in the Group 4 cars. So this was a race that you didn't see live. Obviously the last race of the day was at 20 to 1 in the morning, so I was nearly falling asleep. Obviously I'm old now, so basically driving while sleeping in this race. In qualifying, the first stint went really well. On full fuel I managed to get a 1 minute 40.0, which you're going to see now in P4. It was a 1 minute 40.053. That was with full fuel, so I was really happy with that lap. However, going for gold on my low fuel run, I basically lost the rear and I had to just bail out of the lap. So had to cancel that one, unfortunately. And it was a bit disappointing because I think there was a 39.5 to 6 in the lap. I don't know what it was, but when I wasn't streaming, I just had a little bit more confidence and felt like I could, I don't know whether it's just because obviously your concentration's higher. Obviously when you stream you have two screens with the preview running, so you kind of see two images of what's going on out the corner of your eye. But I don't think that is a massive issue, but I just think in general when you're not streaming you're just a bit more in your zone, obviously just zoned in on the what you've got to do, and managed to do a very good lap in the full fuel run, which actually put, to start from P4 with a full fuel run was actually quite good. Now this top split was a bit of a weird one again. This is why there is a benefit to lowering your driver rating, because this was like a cross between split 1 and split 2, and it is obviously a lot easier in this lobby because that time, although it probably would have put me into the top 7 or 8 in the first 2 slots, it wouldn't have been as high up as a P4 that it was in this race. So a bit of a difference here. For example, in slot 1, the first race of the day, I did a 1 minute 39.9 and qualified in P8. Slower time here in P4. That shows you why people are lowering their DR, but I'll take that in this race. Hopefully we can pick up some good points. In Porsche, I was starting to get the hang of the Porsche Cayman during this, coming towards the end of the night. In the second race, we managed to do quite a good strategy. Got a little bit unlucky with how it went at the end of the race. There could have been a P4 or P5 up for grabs. However, I kind of knew what I had to do. Started on the medium tyres and just try and hang in on the slipstream. I know that my tyres are going to come back towards the end of the race, especially with some people starting on the soft tyres and then trying to extend their soft run quite a lot. So medium tyres was a good tyre to start, and you can see straight away into the fuel saving mode myself. Mixture free there, no point wasting fuel at the start of the race. Most people in top split being quite cautious into turn 1, not want to ruin in their race. As we now go again into that really fast section now, the left really suits the Porsche, these corners. In fuel mixer free, you can see Sergio in front, so Fonseca we'll call him, obviously suffering with the medium tyres possibly, or I don't know if he was on soft or mediums, but suffering with tyre heat up issues by the looks of it. They're not getting any turning on that Corvette, so right up the rear of that Corvette. Now this is handy for myself though in a way, because it means I can do some fuel saving now while I'm on these medium tyres right behind him, and just do some short shifting, just keep that fuel into a reasonable state. You can see now going into mixture free. This is what we were doing throughout pretty much the race, because I wanted to, not only is this going to save me fuel, this is going to help look after the tyres, because as you go through the corners in that mixture free, you're putting less load on the tyres in terms of your front tyres and also the rear tyres. So this is a really good method you can use to help save your tyres. As you can see, back into one mixture now, because I want to try and get some exit speed here to try and make sure I'm picking up the slipstream down the straight, because I've got that Volkswagen behind me, which everyone knows in Group 4 is quite a handy car down the straight. So in that slipstream of the Corvette in front, I was quite happy with Alexoni being behind me though. Very clean driver, very sensible driver as well. So what you'll see him doing here now is he's not going to go for the overtake. I think what he's doing right now is he's using my slipstream because he knows I'm going to be faster through the corner, so there's no point him really trying to get in front of me through the corners, because then there's going to be battling. So what he's doing is just doing a lot of fuel saving on the straight to try and limit his time in the pits when it comes to pitting. And then when he comes, he's probably on a 2-stopper in that FF car, so it means he'll be able to drive aggressive down the straights on the later part of the race. So quite clever driving by him, not really risking the losing the toe and battling with myself. As you can see, myself 7 tenths behind, P3 at the moment, just about in that slipstream still, using that mixture free again through these corners just to try and save some fuel, and also again helping with the front tyres and the rear tyres as we go into the braking zone. You can see Alexoni, he could probably go for a move at this stage, but he's driving it very sensibly. He knows that there's going to come a point when the Cayman is going to be faster than the Volkswagen, even if he's on softs and I'm on mediums, because that Volkswagen is an FF car. FF cars around this track in Group 4 tended to be very aggressive on the tyres, so it was they pretty much had to do a 2-stop race. There wasn't much chance of them doing a 1-stop. I think it would have been impossible to do a 1-stop on any of the FF cars. But you know, I'm not 100% sure. I didn't drive any, but I believe they were pretty much useless at a 1-stop. But there was alternative strategies with the FF cars. You could put the harder compound tyre on either the front or rear tyre. So if, for example, you wanted to put the medium tyre in this race on the front and the softs on the back, that would get rid of the compulsory stop of the mediums, usage of the medium. So you'd actually get away with that being your stint. Some people were trying it out, and I think Tigini also tried it out on the rear, so that the medium was on the rear, soft were on the front, and that also worked. So it seems that as long as you use 2 tyres with the medium tyre, that counts as usage of the compulsory tyre, which is a bit strange. I'm sure that they might patch something in with that, because it's a little bit strange. I mean, I would 100% use that if I was in a car that it benefit for now, but I reckon that will get patched in, so you have to put it on all 4 tyres, because I believe that's how they wanted it to be. Although, to be honest, for most cars, that's not really going to be of any benefit, and even then, for the FF cars, it probably needs that little bit of a benefit at some tracks, but like I say, they're still going to struggle no matter what. However, it could have been handy for the other cars like the Corvette and the Mercedes and that, because them type of cars in a fuel saving race, that could be quite a decent strategy to do that on your first stint and then put the mediums on. Maybe that's how they could have ran it. It could help them cars out, but for this, we're still now in P4, obviously on lap 3. You can see losing the slipstream to P3 at the moment. It was kind of like in 2 minds. What do I do? Do I go aggressive, use up my fuel and tyres, or do I play it sensibly and just not worry too much about that slipstream? You know, do I just continue with the way I'm doing this right now, using mixture 2, and then, you know, playing it safe through the corners, not over revving it, not burning up fuel, not, you know, taking life out of the tyres, and then hope that I come back towards the end of the stint? Or do I really go for it, get back in the slipstream and drive it aggressive? I was really in 2 minds. I decided that what I'll do is try and be gentle on the tyres through the middle sector, on the main straight here, rev it out a bit more, because I was quite confident Alex only wouldn't go for anything silly. I think you'll see in a bit, I don't know if it's this lap, I go defensive, and it might have been the previous lap, he just made it clear he wasn't going to go for a move. So I kind of knew that he's playing the tactical game as well. We've got Lewis behind that in the GTR, I think also possibly on the medium tyres. I'm not 100% sure whether he's on the medium or soft tyres. It's hard to tell. I can't remember when we went in the pits what tyres everyone was on. This is why I think it'd be nice to know on the left hand side where our names are with the delta gap, what tyres people are on, with just a little circle with the colour, the colour of tyre, whether you're on the mediums, the yellows, the greens are hard, the red, the softs, the purple, the super softs, etc. Obviously for this race it was just the softs and the mediums available. As you can see, Alex only still doing very well in that, I have to say, doing an extremely good job in that Volkswagen. However, I was pretty sure at this phase of the race now, lap 4, his tyres would start to fade. Now, the Scirocco is one of the better FF cars on tyres. It can look after its tyres better than most other cars, for example the TT and the Peugeot. I think the Peugeot is one of the worst on tyres, and the Megane, for example. The Scirocco is pretty decent in terms of its tyre wear for an FF car, but it's by no means a good car in terms of Group 4 for tyre wear. It's still way worse than the Cayman and like the Audi, the Alfa Romeo, for example, in the Megane. As we go through to start another lap, you see that gap. It's staying to P3 around 1.5 seconds, which is not too bad really, because I'm still doing my fuel saving. It would have been nice to have qualified better and have been able to drive in the slipstream all through the race, because I could have done some massive fuel saving down this straight. However, I have to just drive it the way I'm. This is the lap, you see, Alex only there. I went defensive and he just pretty much made it clear he wasn't interested in overtaking. So there was that, when someone does that, then you can see that they're not really interested in making a move. What they're interested in doing is using your slipstream to make their car save fuel, because he knows through this section the Porsche is going to be a lot stronger through this left hand and right hand corner, especially now that I'm on medium tyres. The soft runners are going to start suffering. As you see, he's really starting to, he looks like he's dropping off in some of the corners through here now, although he's still doing a good job. You can see he's hanging on in there, and he's actually taking very tight lines for that Scirocco. So that Scirocco has some handling on that car, considering it's an FF car and we're on lap 5. And you know, I'm in the Cayman, I'm on medium tyres, so my tyres are still in good shape. And I don't know if he was on the mediums also. That's a possibility. We'll have to have a little look as we go into the pit stop phase, what tyres people were on, if we spot them when they pit, as we go through that right hand corner, trying to carry speed through there. And he's really on the rear of my car through. I was quite surprised how he was managing to hang on through these corners, considering obviously how bad that car is on tyres. But you can see the lead battle now seems to be bunching up. It looks like that Mercedes is starting to struggle in the lead, Manf in the lead, starting to struggle a bit on them tyres. So my guess was that he was on the soft tyres on this first in. So this race is actually looking quite good for me, because the cars behind, some of these cars are going to probably at least one stop, probably two stop. For example, Scirocco behind me, I was pretty confident that was going to do a two stop. And also the GTR was possible that might do a two stop, depending on how he does his tyres, whether they just go for a one stop on both fronts on the mediums. That would be interesting. I don't think there was a way that some of these cars could do it, a one stop on the softs and their mediums. As you see, Alex only defending down that left hand side, kind of, because he saw that the GTR was going for a move, and I think he actually just let that GTR go for that move. He didn't seem to defend it too aggressively. Couldn't really do much because I was on the right hand side also defending into the corner. But now I decided that I needed to get a move on, because I wasn't too sure how that GTR was on the tyres. Obviously four-wheel drive, probably better than the FF car. However, I was quite surprised to be able to see that doing as well as it is at this stage of the race. But again, this first stint has been very much the fuel safe stint. This is why I decided to go on the medium tyres for this first section of the race, and why that strategy seemed to work for a lot of other people, like Calso was doing it. It was definitely the best way to do it in my view, because then after the first stint, when everyone's done their fuel safe and the field spreads out a bit, then you can run the soft tyre at the end when your car's lighter. The tyre lasts longer when you've got the obviously the low fuel load on the car. The soft tyre seems to come into its own at the best at the end of the race, and you can get the best out of it. Whereas if you went on at the start, you're in that slipstream, you're in the dirty air, you're doing fuel saving anyway, so it felt like a bit of a waste to use the soft tyre on that first stint, and that's why I'm on the mediums. And also what you found was that a lot of the cars that struggled on the soft tyre started to slow down around lap 5 and 6. You can see I'm back into the slipstream of P3, and that's handy because obviously that GTR behind me that is very, very fast down the straights could have possibly have made a move into one of the corners. It was quite risky having that car without myself having a slipstream right behind me. As we see, one car in the pits there on the soft tyre, and we're going to go into the braking zone, just lift and coast a bit, and into that mixture 2, you see, trying to save some fuel, and then into the braking zone, trying to just tuck into the apex, get on the power and 2 mixture, and then into 1 mixture for this little bit of a straight section. You see, I'm trying to now, the thing that I wanted to do now was to stay in that slipstream now, because that can enable me to save a bit of fuel in the parts of the track where obviously you can do the short shifting. Through here, still in that mixture 3, and this really does work. You'll see that drivers like TRL Lightning do this a lot of the time with their mixture. They'll be moving it to mixture 3, 4, 5, 6 through the corners, because you don't gain that much time by using 1 mixture. You gain the time where you gain in 1 mixture is on acceleration. Through the corners, using mixture 2 and 3 really doesn't actually give you a massive amount of help. And also what I find it does, when you're in a slipstream, using mixture 2 and 3 really helps with the rotation of the car when you're in that dirty air. Helps the car rotate nicely, gives you a much better front end because you're not putting as much power down. So that's one thing I would recommend you do, is if you're in that slipstream through the corners, just up that mixture to level 2 or 3, help your fuel, and also it's going to help your tyres and also your speed probably, because you're going to have a much more smooth ride through the corners. And you now see how close we're getting to Samson Meteor in front of us. He seems to be suffering a little bit with that Corvette, as does the Mercedes driven by Manf. You can see they're starting to battle. Unfortunately for myself, the NSX has got away. You can see in the distance there that the NSX has managed to break away from them 2 cars. He's able to pull away in the lead and probably build a bit of a gap up, because his tyres are going to be better. It looks like he's also on the medium tyres, much like I am. It tended to be the way that the handling cars were running this race, to try and stay in that slipstream for as long as possible on the harder tyre. And then at this phase of the race, we start coming back anyway. As you see, the GTR behind me nearly misses braking. Torpedo Lewis there, nearly wiping us out there, but I think he just about managed to slow it down on the apex and avoid contact. So good driving by Lewis there to avoid that. As we now go through this really twisty section, you see myself again looking very strong at this stage. The car still felt really strong, to be honest. The grip was there, the handling was there. I'd done reasonable fuel saving, considering again we didn't have the slipstream for pretty much 4 or 5 laps, something like that, in the middle, in the laps coming up to this point. Now we're obviously back into the slipstream. I can start looking to try and make a move and trying to see if we can get past these drivers, because I was predicting they're going to come in on this lap. I need to do another lap, so I kind of wanted to get past as soon as possible. You can see that the SDL driver in the lead is starting to build up a bit of a gap to Manfred's. Manfred's really wide through that corner. That's going to give the Corvette a look up the inside. Is he going to go for it? He goes for the move. He gives him a knock, so I take advantage of that. I thought, I'm having that gap as well. Taking advantage of the move that the Corvette made. Then tucking up on the inside here with the more grip that I've got on my front tyres, and making the move up on the inside there. A little bit aggressive, but it was 100% fair on the inside, and got myself into P2. So optimistic, took advantage of it, and it worked. So now I've got medium tyres on. We're going to go a lap extra. These cars are now probably going to be pitting. You can see them struggling. Their tyres have hit the wall. They're completely dead. They'll be going into the pits on this lap as we watch behind us, as they're all going to probably dive off into that pit lane. Myself and Manson there staying out in these cars because we're on the mediums. As you see, medium tyres for Lewis there in the GTR, and the other cars on the soft tyres. So that's why that GTR was doing quite well in the race. So it's good to see though that it's helped some cars, because it looks like the GTR, for example, can still one-stop this race by going mediums and then mediums again. However, obviously the other cars, I think the FR cars are still able to do the soft and medium run. But at the end of the stint, the GTR seemed a bit stronger than the cars on the soft tyres. So I really do like the way they've done these races. It is more fun. I do think they need to keep the tyre wear the way it is. I hear some people saying that they want them to lower the tyre wear. I quite like the tyre wear being at this kind of like mediumly high stage. It's not too aggressive. You still get to race. It's still enjoyable. But it makes strategy. There's so many different strategies we can go on. If your car is a bit aggressive, you go for that extra stop. If it's, you know, an FR car, you could go for a 2-stop strategy. I was quite surprised that some of the FR cars didn't go for the strategy of going on mediums to start with, maybe doing like 6 laps, 5-6 laps, and then as soon as they start fading, putting the softs on for 5 laps, and then doing the final run on the softs with the car being really light. That strategy was definitely worth a try. I managed to get a pretty good run with the Porsche doing that strategy, and it wasn't planned. I think it could have been a lot faster. So I was surprised to see the FR cars not going down that route, you know, especially with the straight line speed they have to give them the, you know, the overtaking opportunities down the straight. But what we can see now is I've really caught up to the SDL driver in front of me. Obviously my tyres in better condition as we're going to go in the pits now. You see taking the line into the pit lane, trying to carry the speed through there, skimming the wall on the entry, and we're going to put the soft tyres on now. This is a phase. Do I refuel? I seem to have better fuel than the SDL driver in front of me and the drivers behind me. And we've got the Porsche that was behind me that was on the soft stint, so that's good news for myself. I decided to put a bit of fuel in. You can see there, maybe I couldn't have done. I really wasn't sure if that was a good idea or not. But we just about came out ahead of the Porsche that was on the harder compounder tyre now, and now we've got the 2 drivers there. Maybe I should have just not bothered with that fuel, because I might have jumped. I think I was pretty sure I would have jumped ahead of Manf and the white Mercedes in front of me. So I was a little bit kicking myself there for putting the fuel in, because I didn't really need to do it. You could see by the lap we were on and the percentage of fuel I had left, I could have easily have got to the end of the race with the way I was using the fuel. Obviously the car getting lighter and better on fuel as we now take a move on this Mercedes in front of me. He's on very warm medium tyres. I'm on brand new soft tyres, but he runs me off outside there. Nowhere for me to go. I had much more grip. Come back to the track and he's pushed it. He's given me no space really to go down that side, and he actually picked up a 5-second penalty for that, which was a bit harsh, because no one came to any harm in that. It was just the game obviously sent me go off the track. But at the end of the day, I was on that outside line with the much fresher tyres. His tyres were very worn at that stage. I did check on the replay, and mine were obviously fresh soft tyres. His were warm mediums. I had so much more grip around the outside, and he got a bit aggressive there. I think he got a bit annoyed that I had that he got a 5-second penalty, but unfortunately I am not in charge of the penalty system on this game, so not much I could do there. It was a bit harsh that he got it, but at the end of the day I think I deserved some space on that right hand side. He just accelerated and pushed me wide. I did try and give him the space obviously by running so far wide, but wasn't returned back as we now go down the straight into TX3 Manf's slipstream, and we're going to be looking to make a move as soon as possible. But what you'll see me doing here, I decided I'm not going to be able to make a move at the end of the straight, so we're going to go into mixture 6 just briefly, save a bit of fuel because we might need that at the end of the race to get aggressive if we manage to catch up to P1 as we go into turn 1 now. You can see Alex Only there starting to struggle now in that struggle. I think he pitted very early and going for that 2-stop strategy. So that's what he's doing. It looks like he's doing the 2-stop strategy in the FF car. And now, not really an overtaking opportunity through here for me. So again, into that mixture 2. I was tending to use mixture 2 through these corners as much as possible, or mixture 3 anyway, because it didn't really harm your speed overall, like I said before, but it did help your tyre wear. And obviously tyre wear is going to be important in this last stint. We're on the soft tyres. We're going to have to run 8 laps on these soft tyres, so it's going to be important to make sure I look after them as much as possible. You see Manf looking like he's struggling quite a lot already on the, obviously on the medium tyres. I'm on the soft tyres. I'm going to have a little look up the inside here. Can I go for a move there? That would be too hard to go for the move. So I decided to back out of that, tuck back into his slipstream, and see if I could go for the move that I was doing all night. In the if you watch the stream, I was doing a move through these corners a lot of the time. As we go here, what I tended to do is kick out the car right and then duck underneath, down it into second gear on the apex, bite the car in, and Manf didn't expect that. Give me a couple of flashes there. I don't know if he was annoyed, but I felt like that was a fair move. We'll watch it on the replay now. I think I just caught him out in my view. That I just don't think he expected me to go for that. I had so much more grip on the soft tyre. So let's take a look now. I had a little look here. Obviously, I'm not going to go for that move. That would have been a bit suicidal, wiping both of us out of the race. But through here, what I tend to do, I was doing it all night with a lot of drivers. I was ducking the car right and then tucking it back in on the inside and taking a very tight line to the apex. So you see it there, that little move. He goes wide. I got the inside. I give him plenty of space, but Manf just turns in. I don't think he knew I was there. I feel like that was a fair move. I think Manf might have been flashing at me just to say sorry for turning in. I'm not 100% sure. I presume that's why he was flashing at me, because I didn't really see anything wrong with the move. It looked like a fair move even when watching the replay back. I think it was a good move, to be honest, and it was a move I was doing quite a lot all through the night as we go over the line. And this is the frustrating thing. Really, we should have been in the low 40s at this stage of the race with the fresh tyres on, fuel down. But unfortunately, we lost a bit of time there having to do overtakes. So you can see the gap to the leader now over 3 seconds, and that was really frustrating because when I came in the pits, it was at 1.3 seconds, and I think I shouldn't have refueled. I really think that was probably not the best move, but my idea was I might need to overtake some cars, so I need the fuel to be able to rev it out down the straight. Maybe I should have just thought about getting out the pits as soon as possible to jump any of the drivers that might have been coming through. But like I say, you can say this after the race, what ifs and that, but during the moment I decided to go for that fuel to give myself the ability to push a little bit harder on some of the acceleration zones in one mixture rather than fuel saving. And it might not have been the best move, but it's the move I made. As we now go through to the last section, you can see the gap to the NSX driver in front, 2.9. It's going up to 3 on the where the acceleration zones are. It's going up to about 3.1 because I think the Group 4 NSX actually had a bit of a BOP improvement. I think it might have been made lighter, or it got 1% power. I can't remember what they did. They definitely did something to it. I think it was 1% lighter, the car, and they didn't take any power off it. So that car's quite a fairly little, well, I say a little bit, it's a bit more stronger than it used to be when I drove it. 1% weight does make quite a bit of a difference in terms of your tyre wear, handling, and it will help improve your acceleration as well. Obviously, as we go over the down the straight, you can see the difference. He manages to pull out a couple of attempts on the straight. Now the Cayman obviously isn't the fastest car on the straight, but it's not the slowest. It's it's okay down the straight. It's not by no means the best. It's probably a little bit below average, I would say, on the straight, but then through the corners it is fairly strong. So I run a little bit wide there, frustrating that I'd got that gap under 3 seconds and I made that little mistake there, which is give the P1 that 2-3 tenths advantage through that section, which I was a little bit annoyed about because I felt like I was starting to build that gap up to him a bit, but a little mistake there cost me a vital few tenths, which could come to play at the end of the race as we go through these sections. The thing is, at the moment, trying to look after the tyres. You can see, obviously, we've got this longer stint to do. We pitted on that line, leaving ourselves 8 laps to go towards the end. Now, doing that on the soft tyre, you do need to be very cautious that, you know, these tyres have got to last all the way to the end. So what my aim from this point of the race was to try and keep the deltas all within a, you know, fairly close range. I didn't want to go 100% aggressive and, you know, try and catch him up straight away, because I felt if I did that, you know, push in, use the fuel up, and then maybe try and, you know, sit behind him for a few laps, I could have done that, but I think I would have killed my tyres having to do 8 laps on the softs. Instead, I decided to drive it quite sensibly and just gradually gain on the leader if I could. I saw that at the end of the first stint with the medium tyres that my car definitely was stronger on that final lap. I was able to gain about 4 attempts on him, I think, 4 or 5 attempts. So I was thinking, let's just keep it calm. Let's just drive my own race and see if I can manage to catch him up towards the end of this race. And even if we don't manage to catch him up, we're still going to come away with some very solid points. Obviously, I think it was 2.6k for the win, 2.4, or just under 2.5 for P2. So either way, it was going to be quite a solid result, coming away with over anything over 2k really, because I was struggling on this race in practice, and then I think I started to get used to the car a bit on the second race. In the first qualifying, I did quite a reasonable job. In the second race, qualifying wasn't so good. However, in the race, I was quite strong, especially at the end. I got the strategy sorted, realising that you just had to drive very smooth with the medium tyres, and then the soft tyres at the end were definitely the way to go. And then this race seems to be coming together a bit. I'm hitting the apexes a lot more. I was getting it into the corners. I was getting confident with using the fuel mixture in certain places of the track. And you can see that gap is under 3 seconds. It is obviously going up to 3 seconds sometimes when you get on the straights, but through the corners, I was definitely starting to gain. Now that was a sign that his tyres might be starting to fade a little bit, and obviously I had that extra bit of fuel. So on the straights, he's obviously using the fuel up and then going into the mixtures through the corners to try and save his tyres as well, I presume. But I was pretty confident that if he's being a bit more aggressive maybe in certain areas than I am also, mainly like the exits of this corner here where you're putting the power down, maybe he's going to start suffering with tyre wear towards the end of this race as we get to the last 2 laps or so. We're coming up to the end of lap 14 now, 3 more laps to go, and I am starting to gain on him. It is very slow. Obviously, this is why I do like these races, though. They are very tactical. You can see my lap times. 1 minute 41 when we were in that traffic would have probably been a mid to low 40. Then we were still in the 40s, and we're still in the low 41s. We're keeping these laps very consistent at the moment. Some fairly solid drive in this Cayman. I am starting to get the hang of it. I was starting to get the hang of this Cayman in this race. I'm starting to feel like I understand it a bit more in terms of the way you've got to drive it to look after the tyres. I did think it had gone really bad on tyre wear when I first started testing it because of the front tyre wear, but I found in this race, putting it to 3 to the rear, being cautious on the brake, not over braking on that front, obviously slamming it on, and just using the mixtures through the corners. And this car is fairly good on tyre wear. It's definitely better than the NSX that's in front of me. It was more confident on tyres towards the end of the scene. You can see that I am starting to gain on him. It's only a couple of tenths, but you can see on screen. And once you see that car getting closer, it does give you more motivation. It definitely does. Like you hear commentators say about it in real life. But when you see a car getting closer to you through the acceleration and braking zones, it gives you extra motivation to push on and see if you can catch him. You see I'm driving quite aggressively for them. Absolutely nailed that corner there into the braking zone, down to second gear. I'm sure that he's starting to feel a bit of pressure in this race as well at this stage. Obviously we had that incident with the same SDL driver that's in front of me now in race 2 where he kind of pushed me out of the way a little bit, but I got my revenge with quite a good overtake in that race anyway. And I did see in that race how much he struggled with his tyres. So if you were watching the live stream, you would have seen that towards the end of the stint he was definitely suffering with tyre wear compared to myself. So I was fairly confident now that we could maybe keep gaining a few tenths on him every lap or so. As you see, we're going over line, we definitely caught up a bit of time. Even though we're on that straight now, this is the part of the track where he tended to pull away because he was able to accelerate a bit better than my car. However, through the corners, I felt confident we could get back up closers again into that mixture 2. Again, I'm using that mixture 2 not just to save fuel. It's when I get on the power, it's going to put less pressure on them rear tyres and help the tyres towards the end. I was still thinking about that last lap. I was thinking, if I can just get in this slipstream for the final lap, I might be able to make a move on him. On that corner that I did it to him as well, I think on a different corner, but on that last sector where it's all technical, the Cayman felt really strong. It was able to bite into the apexes really well. So I was thinking, let's push now, let's see if I can get in the slipstream, but keep them rear tyres alive at the same time, again in mixture 2, and then into one mixture once the acceleration phase of that corner while turning is over, and see if we can just gain these vital few tenths that I need to maybe take a win in this race. I felt like this race was mine to get the win on. It was going to be really hard, though. You can see quite far back, but he's doing a very good job, to be fair to him, in that NSX. We did see, though, that the NSX is very strong when we saw Lloyd driving it, absolutely insane drive, kept it in the 1 minute 41s all the way to the end of the race pretty much, I think, bar the last lap. But you can see also at the moment I'm doing quite a good job with these tyres. You can see all 1 minute 41s all the way through at the moment. Obviously the lap 11 would have been a low 40, then lap 12 was a 40, and then lap 13, 14, 15 have all been 41s with the soft tyre that is starting to die off. You can see on the telemetry that the tyres are worn, but I'm keeping them alive by not over driving them, and that is what you've got to do with these softer compound tyres. And I do like driving the Porsche on the softer tyres. I have to say, I remember at a race at Dragon Trail where I went on super soft tyres and did a no stop and managed to get a win. I do prefer when the softer compound tyres are used in game. As we go through turn 1, you see braked a little bit late there. I was getting a little bit optimistic, really trying to push. Final lap now, so I'm basically thinking use up as much of the tyre life as possible. However, the fuel is still a little bit of a factor. You can see 0.9 laps of fuel left, but I did know that I had been driving probably more aggressively on the fuel than P1, obviously, because I put that little bit of extra fuel in at the stop, and that could help me gain on this final lap as we go through that long right hand corner. And I can see now, you can see the gap is definitely decreasing. This is partly due to tyres, partly due to the car's ability as well at the end of the race in terms of my car being a bit stronger, and also down to fuel possibly as we go through to the final section. It just looks like we're just a fraction too far back into this phase of the track. This is where I really needed to be about a second, 8 tenths back to try and make a lunge up the inside, but unfortunately just a bit too far off. This is the corner here where I was able to really gain a lot of time on a lot of other cars and consider trying to make a move as we go into this left hand corner. Porsche was so strong through there, and you can see not really much I can do now. So this phase has pretty much settled on P1, although I've got the fuel now to push all the way down this straight, so I thought I might as well just rev it out, because at the end of the day he could run out of fuel, we don't know, as we go down the main straight. And it looks like I'm going to come home with a fairly solid P2 in this race, considering I didn't expect that. I was quite happy of coming away with a very solid round again. You know, I've picked up a really consistent start to this season. 2.4k points in the first race, just under 2.5, then 2 points, just under 2.6 in race 2, and now this race a solid P2, getting that gap under 2 seconds at the end, and not a bad finishing time of 20 minutes and 10 seconds considering I started from P4 and we had that battle in the, you know, running wide off the track as well with the cars that were on the worn tyres. So I did manage to get the pace much better on the final race of the day, which was good to see, and started to get used to this car. So I look forward to driving it again at a different combination. Let's see if we can do better next time driving the Group 4 car. I hope you enjoyed this video. I'm going to be back with more FIA races, practice sessions and streams, etc. throughout the weeks to come. So if you haven't already subscribed to the channel, please hit that subscription button and also hit the notification button so you don't miss any future videos. Thanks again for watching, everyone.